Coastal gains ground on the rail at the top of the stretch. It is Spectacular Bid. He has the lead by 3. Coastal on the inside is moving up toward leader now and down the stretch. Spectacular Bid on the outside. It is Coastal on the inside. Those two now vying for the lead, and Coastal puts ahead in front. Spectacular Bid back into second. Golden Act is third, approaching the 16th pole. It is an upset now. Coastal has the lead by 3. Spectacular Bid on the inside, Coastal on the outside. It is Coastal in front.
Welcome back to another edition of A Case for Racing Immortality here on Racing Rundown. And in this edition, we'll be talking about kind of a throwback name, a name most racing fans might not be familiar with. It's David Whiteley, based in New York, from a racing family. His father was Frank Whiteley, one of the most prominent trainers of his age, also a member of the Racing Hall of Fame. Trained great horses like Damascus and Forgo, and the biggest being the very famous filly Ruffian. So much so that Frank Whiteley was actually in a movie about Ruffian, so he has been portrayed in a movie on occasion. He was a very successful trainer in his time. So David Whiteley naturally gravitated towards that role of being a trainer. That is who we're talking about here, and he found early success in the 1970s when he first went out on his own, and he won a graded stakes in his first year training in 1970, or the second year training, I should say. 1971 is when he won his first graded stakes. From there on out, he continued to amass lots of wins, especially in the mid 70s. That's when he was at his highest in his training career, specifically the late 70s, as he won his first Grade 1 in the Monmouth Oaks, the Ruffian Stakes, and the Coaching Club American Oaks with the mare Rebedier, who actually won 5 graded stakes for him in that year in total. Kind of fitting, too, that he was able to win the Ruffian Stakes, a race named after his father's most famous horse. But that's not where it stopped for Whiteley. Later on in the 70s and into the early 80s, he probably had his 3 best horses, starting with Coastal, who won the Belmont Stakes, ending Spectacular Bid's bid for the Triple Crown, I should say. Not his first big horse, but a good horse nonetheless. Rebedier was actually his first Eclipse Award champion, or maybe not an Eclipse Award champion, but a champion, being crowned champion 3-year-old filly in 1976. While in the same year he had Coastal, he also had the very popular filly Weah, who won champion older female horse. And he followed that up the next year, winning the award with a different horse named Just a Game. She also won female turf horse that year. Both were owned by Peter Graham. We're going to touch on his connections to popular owners in just a moment. But both of those horses, Weah and Just a Game, have graded stakes named after them in New York. The Just a Game is a Grade 1 at Belmont Park, run at a mile on Belmont weekend. And then the Weah is a 1 3/8 turf race at Saratoga for older fillies and mares. So 2 horses there that are automatically ingrained in racing history, having races named after them that will probably stick around for just a while, especially the Just a Game, which is such a popular horse race. Outside of those are probably his 4 best horses that we just discussed, but he won pretty much every graded stakes that a trainer would want to win on both coasts outside of the Triple Crown. Coastal was his only Triple Crown race winner from all of this, and he also never trained a Breeders' Cup winner despite training all the way till 1995. So that does kind of deter his legacy just slightly, the fact that he never was able to put together a Breeders' Cup win despite the training in that time period. But as I mentioned, he did win pretty much every graded stakes one would want to win, and on both coasts. He did it. He won a lot of Santa Anita's biggest stakes races, especially in the late 70s, races like the San Antonio, the San Marcos, so on and so forth, big races like that. And in New York, he won the Man-O War, the Flower Bowl, all different kinds of races, the Diana on one occasion. And he really could train anything. He had a lot of diversity to him. Turf routers, he won the Red Smith of turf race at Aqueduct 3 times, also the Sword Dancer twice, but he could also train some 2-year-olds, the winner of the Remsen and the Sprinters he could do on the Test a couple times. So a lot of big races, even taking the Marlboro Cup once on occasion. Unfortunately, as his career kind of progressed, he did lose some of his bigger clients to different names, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. The fact he trained for a lot of popular racing figures, Most notably would have to be Peter Brandt, who still to this day trains a lot of really nice horses. Also trained for George Strawbridge, the owner of what would be called Augustin Stables in the United States. He's won multiple Breeders' Cups on occasions in the late 2000s, as early as the 1990s. Joseph Allen, who is prominent worldwide in racing, owns a couple of horses in partnership with the Coolmore Group and the Janney family, who owned 2013 Kentucky Derby winner Orb, among other horses. But unfortunately, after that late 70s run that he had, the success did not sustain. Stuart Janney started running horses with different trainers, most notably Shug McGay. He was actually a protege of the Whitley program. He was an assistant trainer under David Whiteley before going out on his own. Joseph Allen, another person that went to McGahee. D. Wayne Lucas took him on as a client as well. George Strawbridge kind of got out of American racing for a little bit, and Peter Brandt looked to Leroy Jolly and D. Wayne Lucas to pick up his horses. So unfortunately, Whiteley did lose the majority of his big clients, and as a result, the results he didn't really have the high class horses he wanted. After 1983, he only won one graded stakes, a grade 3, the Appleton, in 1987. So after that, he trained until 1995 when he retired, but as I mentioned, did not have as much success as one would hope, at least that was sustained. For me, I think on resume alone, it's hard to make a super strong case for the Hall of Fame because the longevity wasn't there. There was only a 10-year span, I'd say, where he was really a prominent trainer. But even then, he trained in the Breeders' Cup era for a little bit, never had a runner. He trained one, Triple Crown race winner in the Belmont, and he won a lot of big stakes. But I mean, there's probably better resumes out there, better cases you can make for certain trainers. I do kind of wonder though, because it is his last year of eligibility, if that's going to give him the bump in addition to his father also being in the Hall of Fame. But all in all, he didn't even eclipse 1,000 races in his career. And I think if he was able to, sustain a long career with a lot more winners and a lot more success, he could have made a stronger case for himself. But I just think that, after 1983, when a lot of the success went away, I think it's hard to continue to make a case that he should be in the Hall of Fame. But that's not up to me. That's up to the voters. And I'd be happy to see him in because I think he comes from a very successful racing family, and it'd be awesome to see him inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that's it for this edition of A Case for Racing Immortality on the Racing Rundown. I'm Eric DeCoster, and we'll see you next time.